G'day guys and welcome back to Let's Talk Footy. You're here tonight for the final episode of the second series of Let's Talk Footy. It's been a fantastic journey, and tonight we are joined by someone who has shared career highlights with Jamie Soward, Zach Bailey and other household names against the NRL media community. A respected entertainer who has done a lot for our game and attended the biggest games on some of the biggest stages. Please join me in welcoming the final guest of Let's Talk Footy, former host of the Inside the NRL, Katie Brown. Thank you so much for jumping on tonight.
That's a nice intro. Thank you, Hayden.
It's been getting better and better. I think we've had multiple episodes. Originally, I didn't even have this whole setup, so just the confidence of getting these intros out and promotion has been huge.
100%. Good on you. I'm loving the independent media side of things, so good on you.
Thank you. Well, I want to speak about Inside the NRL. Now, the show has been very entertaining in recent time, and it's not just Inside the NRL for me. What NRL.com did with also the NRL teams, which I mentioned Zach Bailey, who you've worked with multiple times, getting the opportunity to work with someone like Jamie Soward, how did that come across? How did it feel? And more importantly, how was the feeling of saying goodbye to Inside the NRL as you move into this new chapter of life?
Yeah, I was lucky enough to host that for 3 years. Zach Bailey will actually take over as Inside the NRL host. And it was unfortunate, I guess, because COVID, Zach and I were challenged down to one position, and I chose to take a redundancy. And I had the job with SEN, so I now work for SEN Radio, which is awesome. But I am very lucky because those 3 years taught me so much about rugby league. I think when you love sport, it's easy to think that you know sport, but I just love being around athletes and have such an appreciation for them. So working specifically on one code for 3 years has taught me more than I could ever have imagined. And working alongside Jamie Soward, our first interaction was a negative one. He walked in, and we can openly joke about it now, but he walked in and he was grumpy and like, oh yeah, what are you doing? And yeah, good to see you, blah, blah, blah. And he goes, also, why are you even hosting? No one even knows who you are. And I was like, oh my God, here we go. This is going to be a terrible, terrible meeting. Like this host show, what is happening? Anyway, I think he was sussing me out because I think a lot of females, not all of them by all means, like we're pretty lucky in rugby league, a lot of them are just naturally talented and love the game, but there are some females who love being on the screen, just as some men do too. I think he thought I was that girl, and he quickly realised that actually I just love the game and I just wanted to learn so much of him and Michael Chammas. So we became really close actually, and we've since like apologised and moved on, and he sort of treats me like his little sister, and we have a really healthy relationship. So I was devastated on our last show, and I'm definitely going to miss them both, but I'll still see them around.
Yeah, definitely. Originally, before I had Let's Talk Footy, I guess I had them around the same time, but myself and BKR Sport had a podcast called In the Sheds. One of the first guests that we had was Jamie Soward. It was a fantastic interaction chat about his previous career and basically what he's doing now after his retirement. And like you said, that negativity at the start, we had very similar. I guess I shook it around a bit with him, but when we were talking about his 2010 season, or 2009, sorry, and we spoke about how he pushed for the Dally M against Jared Hayne, but Jared Hayne got the better of him. I was holding up my Eels jersey, taunting him because he just kept saying how close he was to that Dally M. And right on YouTube live there, he called me a wanker. So, but after that, he gave the apology off the chat, and it was fantastic, but very memorable there for the first moment.
He's honest. He's honest. You can't take that away from him, that's for sure. And he probably rubs up people the wrong way if you don't get to meet him again after, things like that.
You know what was absolutely mad for me, and we did probably a 50-minute chat, which is not what Let's Talk Footy is. It's a smaller segment. We get through more information, but throughout that chat, I could not see him on my screen. When we did like a practice run, just like we did at the start, which I always do, I could see him on my screen through Skype. For some reason, 2 minutes into the interview, my friend and co-host He could see Jamie Soward on the other end. I could not. It just came up with a blank black screen. So here I am talking to Jamie Soward without even seeing him, and the way that he's interacting, it was so a little bit awkward at parts.
Yeah, I bet. There's something about seeing someone's body language as well, right? Like I can see you, I can see if we're on or if we're off, or if you're awkward or you're hating on me. Yeah, for sure.
Well, I want to get into the growth of the women's game. Now, currently the NRL has the Dragons, the Broncos, Roosters, and Warriors with NRL official W team. How do you think we can expand the growth of the women's game? You're obviously a big contributor to that side of things. And also, interesting point here, but crowds and viewership numbers, are they at a respectable and acceptable support at the moment?
Yeah, they definitely are. So right now, the NRL has managed to put the NRLW inside that current broadcast rights deal, so they're actually not paying anything for it. And we're averaging over 100,000 viewership on Channel 9 and Fox Sports, and that's just over 4 games. I'm not sure of the exact number of the grand final, but I know that the NRLW and even AFLW actually rate higher than A-League, and Fox Sports pay 30 mil for A-League. So you cannot tell me that women's sport cannot benefit commercially. Like, I'm really passionate about it because I'm female, like it's natural. And I don't want to come across like a feminist and, oh yeah, boys suck. Because I love men, and there's so many great men who are helping grow the women's game. The fact that you're even asking me about it, I know that you genuinely care. But I think you just got to give the women's game time. And like in the men's, they weren't elite athletes in the 1900s. You know, only in the last 10 years have we really seen these $1 million contracts and these complete professional athletes. So what we've seen in the women's game in the last 3 to 4 years has been so spectacular. Their body shape has changed dramatically. The numbers are huge. We've got more than 200,000 players around Australia who just want to play footy. They want to play rugby league because they can see it on TV. So the commercial gains are there. We just have to make sure we're proactive and not reactive to other sports, because WBBL right now rate 3rd, 4th behind BBL, NRL, and AFL.
Right.
So that's pretty incredible. Yeah.
I would say that one thing for me, and as I said, I'm passionate about it myself, as bringing it up can tell. I think one thing that's helping it build is the representative side as well. Just the fact that there is kind of a women's game of Origin or of the All-Stars game, as we saw the other night. We get excited for, I guess, the NRLW across that 4-week period. But I think it's really exciting when we haven't had footy for a while, like when we had Origin, like when we had this All-Stars. And I think people really get into it, representing the country or the state and supporting the women who are trying to make it in the big time.
For sure. And to be fair, I did not like the All-Stars women's game. And I am a big advocate, but I was not impressed by the Indigenous women's team. I thought that Ian Burke gave a lot of those girls opportunity, and I'll call them girls because they were inexperienced. They were not elite female athletes that should have been given the opportunity. They should have picked experienced women, because you don't get that opportunity on a TV to prove yourself often. And the Māori side were experienced women playing against Indigenous girls, and the Indigenous community would not have been proud of that.
No, definitely not. It was a thumping by the Maoris, but maybe they'll get their revenge next year. It always is a little bit.
I think so. It's a learning curve. Like, it's not all negative, but I just I think we need to be careful with what we're putting to TV, because right now the critics are harsh and we've got to please them.
They are. Well, your NRL top 8 has officially been unveiled. Now, here is mine. I'll give mine in order. You had yours in no order. Now, you can laugh all you want, but I'll bring up your point too. So I've got the Roosters as minor premiers. And spoiler alert, guys, at present, I've got them once again going out in straight sets. I've got the Storm in second. Now, I've got the Storm going back-to-back at this stage. I've put out a kind of small season preview. Cameron Smith, obviously a huge loss. My biggest call of the year, which you may disagree with, I've got Newcastle in third. I think Newcastle have been building a really good team over the last couple of years, and I think they're going to click. They've shown us that they can remain in the top 4 throughout the season, and then they normally drop off. I don't think that's the case. I've got them in 3rd. You can argue there if you want.
I think Mitchell Pearce will either lead them to a top 4 or there will be too much controversy in that side and they won't make the 8.
Oh, okay. Hopefully
there's a lot of weight on his shoulders.
I've got the Penrith Panthers dropping into 4th. I think they're definitely building in the right way. I don't know how much truth there is, but there's rumoured today or tomorrow that they're rumoured to actually re-sign Stephen Crichton, which would be huge for the squad, as they've already re-signed Isaiah Yeo, looking really good. 5th, I've got the Raiders. 6th, I've got my own team. Pardon?
I thought they'd be higher, Raiders.
Yeah, a lot of people are putting him higher. I just think Bateman and Kotrick are huge losses. I think the recruitment has been okay for the most part. They've still got a lot of talent, but I think they'll drop off a little bit. 6th, I've got my team, the Eels. I'm still waiting to see who has Eels above, say, 6th. Do you have them above 6th?
Yeah, I've got them playing in the premiership match. I've got them playing
You've got them in the grand final
against the South Sydney Rabbitohs. Yeah.
And who wins the premiership?
South Sydney Rabbitohs.
Oh, okay.
I've gone out on a limb, and that's hard for me to tip against Melbourne Storm, but I'll let you finish your 8.
Yeah, well, look, I want to say that I have a lot of faith in the boys. I think the recruitment has been good for the most part, but I'm expecting us to have a weaker regular season that builds to a better final season. Whether that means injuries or what it means, but I'm predicting at this stage Parramatta to make a prelim, which I think is huge for this club to actually make it that far compared to a finals exit. But I think we'll be a little bit sloppy during the regular season, and some games that we shouldn't lose at Bankwest, we will. But there you go. In 7th, now this is a team that I personally think is overrated, but I do like their squad, is South Sydney Rabbitohs. Now, you've got them going to the grand final. Have you got them top 4?
Yeah, I've got them winning the premiership.
But minor premiership and premiership, or?
Oh, sorry, I don't have them winning the minor premiership. I haven't actually picked my minor premiers. Maybe that could go to Melbourne Storm. They're pretty good at that.
They are, yeah.
But yeah, no, I've got them taking home the trophy this year.
As I said, I think they're a little bit overrated, but a lot of people, including yourself, tipping them to take the big one. But I think for me, I tipped them last year to get it. And I also expected Jai Arrow to head there early and make an impact. And look, they came close, but I can't say that they're going to do it again. So I got them a little bit lower. In 8th, I've got your Titans. Your Titans playing finals. It's been really hard to think between 8th and 9th. I had Manly in 9th, but you could argue that they're lower now with the whole Tom Trbojevic out. One team I don't have, though, in my top 8 is the West Tigers. I've got them in the bottom 4. However, you have them in your top 8. Why is that?
Oh, do you know, I probably, when I was looking at the 16 sides, I thought, to be fair, they've recruited not too bad. If James Roberts is on, he can help a team do anything. But I also like that Dane Laurie's gone there early because that X factor at the back, and Dewey can go into the halves now with Luke Brooks. And I think there's a lot of pressure on Luke Brooks to deliver, and there has been for the last few seasons, right? But if you have the right person in the right position, you can achieve a lot. And their forward pack, I think Madge has made a really strong point. If you're not going to deliver what I expect of you, leave the club. And I think a lot of them are all on the same page now. I do think there's the talent in that squad to be in the 8. But there's like, I'd love to see the Warriors in the 8. I'd love to see Sharks in the 8. It purely depends on, there's so many factors, particularly injuries.
Why do you want to see the Sharks in the 8?
I love the Sharks. I've got a soft spot for that many teams. Seriously, the more players you meet and interview, it's so hard. Like Manly, love Manly as well, but after Tom Trbojevic, I just can't make the 8.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned the Warriors being in the 8, and you mentioned players in the right position. So I'm going to ask you something. I put out a video last night, and it's basically about Roger Tuivasa-Sheck leaving the Warriors to go to the All Blacks, which has been announced. Who do you think would be a good fit for Roger Tuivasa-Sheck? You mentioned about young talent. Now, I have 5 candidates. I've got, and these are from probably least likely to most likely, I guess. Now, I've got Caleb Akins from the Penrith Panthers at the back did the job for Dylan Edwards in a minor premiership winning side at some points of the season. Mm-hmm. Nick Meaney from the Bulldogs. They've got a lot of recruitment going. Now you think, already saying no to that one.
I gave away my face expressions, gave it away, didn't it? Sorry.
Yeah, Jerome Hughes is a very interesting one. I think that he is a very good number 7 at the Storm, and I could see them re-signing him. But if he does want to get back in that number 1 jersey, this is his best chance.
Mm-hmm.
Fourth is Scott Drinkwater, who plays with the Cowboys at 5'8" currently, but we've seen how dangerous he was as a fullback back at the Storm. I don't think he'll come completely into contention and be rumoured, but I think the Warriors would be stupid not to look into it. And then the last choice, which is a lot of people arguably saying the favourite, is Joey Manu from the Sydney Roosters, who's filled in for fullback for Tedesco quite a bit. I think Joey Manu is one of the best centres in the world, but I don't think he provides X factor from what I've seen as a fullback. So who would you say out of those 5, or who would you put as a replacement for Roger?
I reckon you've missed someone. I reckon Chance Nickel-Klokstad. Keep your eyes on him.
Is he leading the Raiders?
He's back in New Zealand.
Okay.
I'm not sure that him and his partner are still together. They could be, they might not be. But his 2 children are back there. So I wouldn't be surprised. He's a Kiwi. He's obviously he got told that you can look elsewhere, and the Raiders basically threw him a lifeline. And he knows that he owes the Raiders so much, but at the moment he wouldn't give much away. But I would say watch this space, because I think he would be a perfect fit.
That's
I don't
crazy,
know though, and I don't want to start any rumours, but I think he would be a great fit at the Warriors. But I do love him at the Raiders as well.
See, I could see it happening, and I would argue, and you probably could disagree with me here, but I feel like the Raiders' premiership chances are coming slowly towards a close. They've been a really good team the last couple of years. They've still got a pretty decent team, but if Chance Nickel-Klokstad goes, Nick Kotrick's gone, this team looks like they could start to probably still make around the bottom of the 8, but the premiership window starts to come to a close.
Yeah, no, I would tend to agree there. I think a big in is having Josh Hodgson back. I think that's really exciting in the middle there. But in terms of having the X factor, I mean, not having Bateman, I know Elliot Whitehead has apparently stepped up at training and has really taken on that role, but whether or not he delivers that on the field, if he can stay uninjured, I really rate Whitehead. It's a good opportunity, but you're right. I don't know how this year could be the last year we see them really in that top 4 contention.
Yeah. In July of 2020, so last year, you took a huge step in going from rugby league presenter to rugby league player. How was the debut with the South Sydney Rabbitohs women? And is this your first time playing rugby league at a professional level?
Yeah, so it was my first ever rugby league game last year. I was a netballer growing up, and then I played a year of Aussie rules footy on the Gold Coast. So I'd watched the girls in NRLW and just really wanted to give it a crack. So in my first game, we played Central Coast Roosters, and in my first hit up, I dropped the ball, tried to play the ball, got too keen, and I just saw it slip out of my hands.
How many games did you get to play with you?
Pardon?
How many games did you get to play last year?
I played 2. So in that first game, COVID, obviously, I think we only ended up playing maybe 6 or 7. First game after COVID, the competition returned, and I played in the middle. So I'd been training in the back row, and got put in the middle. My first hit up was Caitlin Johnston. I don't know if you know her, Jillaroo, and State of Origin player. Anyway, and then the second game was when I broke my nose. We were playing against Wentworthville, and I was trying to reach over for a try, and the girl just used my nose to get up off me. But it was only a short career, but I'm back there again this year and playing in the centres or on the wing, hopefully.
So no more back row for you.
I'm more than happy to play in the back row. I'll play wherever. It doesn't bother me. Playing in the middle, I loved. it was really good to practice my tackling in game time, because training it's quite controlled. But I just feel like an outside back position is way more me. Not talking myself up, but one of my traits is that I can run. So yeah, I'd be better there, I think.
Whilst you're talking yourself up a bit, as we wrap up, I'd like to talk about your highlights. You've attended some really good stadiums, and one thing the NRL's done over the years really well is brought, and look, I would argue that some of them are crap and some of them are good, but they've taken games to Adelaide, to Perth, the MCG originally. Throughout your career, what stadiums have you enjoyed, and just in general, what have you most enjoyed as an NRL presenter?
Do you know, every time I reckon I've been asked this, it's the same one. It is Australia v Tonga over at Mount Smart Stadium when they had the test match. The sea of red was something like I'd never experienced in any sporting match. And the hymns, it was so overwhelming. I could relive that day again and again and again. It was so incredible. But yeah, grand final day, hells yes, I'm there. Yeah. And State of Origin, loved Perth. That was awesome.
Did you do Perth Nines?
Yeah, Perth Nines. Although, you know, the AFLW game got more numbers at that than NRL Nines over in Perth. So I think we sort of missed the vibe at Perth Nines. It was a bit in between. It was like half competitive, half fun. I couldn't put my finger on it.
I don't rate Perth. I think Perth Stadium, they've spent a lot of money in. I think it's good for AFL. I don't rate it for NRL. I think Adelaide has done really well. And the Roosters, I believe, are also contracted, or the Storm, one of them, to play at least Roosters. One game. Yeah, Roosters, to play one season at Adelaide. And I think they're doing a good job at it. The only thing is that when we play games there, it's quite often, say, nighttime for us in New South Wales, Queensland, but over there, it literally is daylight that you're playing footy in. And that's a little bit odd. But I think as a stadium, Adelaide Oval has looked really nice to attend.
Yeah. I don't think I've watched an NRL game down there, as in been there for a game. Yeah. But I mean, it looks good. You're right with the time difference. That's tricky.
It is. I think was Origin was last year in Adelaide.
In Adelaide? Yeah.
Yeah. And that was confusing to watch in the daylight. I didn't like the concept of that.
Didn't you?
Not at all. Not at all.
It's wrong. It's so wrong.
It's wrong. Well, I want to thank you so much for joining. This has been my final episode of Series 2. It's been a fantastic chat, really easy going. Thank you to everyone for tuning in as well. Everyone who's jumped on YouTube, hit the subscribe button and jumped in week out. Thanks to all the guests involved in Season 2. Denon Kemp from Bloke in a Bar, he kicked this one off. We had Hayes Dunster from the Parramatta Eels. The biggest interview probably in my life. And if this is considered as a career to me, a career highlight, Josh Papali from the Canberra Raiders. That was
just mean? How come I wasn't
there? You're about to get your little mention. Dane Clark from Clarkie's Rugby League column, and Katie Brown, former NRL commentator, but still sticking with the work with the NRL for some great causes there. So, yeah, it's been fantastic. Make sure you guys do like and subscribe to the channel. In the description below, I'll leave my season preview as well as my discount code for Conehead Clothing. And, yeah, guys, thank you so much, Katie, for jumping on. It's sad to say goodbye to Season 2, just like it was sad for you to say goodbye to 3 years of Inside the NRL, but all good things must come to an end.
That's it. Thank you so much for having me, Hayden. Love what you're doing here. Good on you.
No worries. Thank you.